Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video will, you will learn one or two things as well. As a reminder, I am not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but I'm someone who has taken a really deep personal interest in how nutrition affects the whole health, so physically and mentally. Over the last few years, I've spent a lot of time doing research in dietary science, reading studies, listening to scientists on podcasts, which I will link a couple of podcasts for you today that will help you go deeper into some of the topics I'm going to talk about today. And I've been reflecting a lot on the way food really influences our long-term well-being. So this is basically me. And one key topics, and obviously I'm talking a lot to my friends and family, and my diet or my nutrition, shall I say, because it's not a diet, is high fiber, high protein, and low inflammation. So I've already covered why I do high protein into other videos that you feel free to go and check out. But one question that I get asked a lot is why low inflammation and what is inflammation? And it's not really easy to kind of explain it, but that's why I wanted to do a video just to talk about that typically. So, and the whole goal of this is not like a short-term diet. This is something that will, change your life on the long term, right? So inflammation is also a long-term issue that is never too late to start looking at as well. So let's start by talking about what is inflammation. So inflammation, if I have to explain it to a 10-year-old, I would say that this is, imagine like your body is like a city, and inflammation is a fire guard, it's a fireman, right? So when there is a small fire into a house, then the fireman goes and then put out the fire, right? That's great. This is a defense mechanism against fire. So it works well when it works, just to solve a particular issue, and it is here for that. The problem is when you ask it to always continuously work. So imagine a fireman always, putting water everywhere, even if there's no fire, into the whole house, into the whole city, and will flood the city. So that's a big problem, right? So in a nutshell, it is like this. But typically, what you would so if I talk to an adult now, I would say that you have two types of inflammation. So the inflammation is, in a nutshell, is a body's natural immune response to injury or stress or infection, right? So it's kind of it's designed to be a proactive mechanism. So when something is harmful or irritating, which is affecting a part of your body, then the immune system just release white blood cells in order to fight, issues and or repair tissue, for example, right? And there's two type of inflammation. So there's acute inflammation. So when there is a short-term visible issue, like you have swelling or pain, or if you cut your finger, or if you catch a virus, this kind of acute inflammation. So again, the fireman go and puts out a fire in one house, right? And the other type of inflammation is chronic inflammation. So this is really long-term, invisible, and it occurs when the body remains in a constant state of alert, right? So that fireman is constantly, putting water everywhere, even if there's no fire, or even if there is fire into one place, even if there's no clear threat for the body, then the inflammation is constantly in a state of alert. Obviously acute inflammation is really essential for us for healing. Chronic inflammation is very, very harmful, and it can really quietly in the long term damage tissues, organs, and is linked to cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and Alzheimer, and even some cancers as well, right? So which Some of the links I'm going to put in the comments will help you go a little bit deeper into that. So there's a direct link between those things. So it's very impactful in the long term. There's a lot of things that influences inflammation, such as your environmental pollution in the environment, which obviously you can't do anything about. The microplastic that you ingest, which obviously you can't do anything about nowadays. There's a few other factors that you can't do anything about, but the couple of things that you can do something about, and one of the really big important one is nutrition, right? And that's why the low inflammation kind of part of my diet comes into play. And the food is probably one of the most important levels. I think a lot of scientists agree with this. And if you think about the mechanism that trigger this inflammation, is mostly due. You probably heard about the term glucose spikes. And this happens when basically you ingest foods that are full of sugar, or full of starchy carbs, for example, such as pasta, for example. When you ingest this into your body, it puts a lot of glucose. Basically, the issue is like glucose. You have a lot of glucose into your bloodstream, and the glucose in the bloodstream is quite toxic. It's not meant to be there, even though that's how the body takes its energy, right, from that glucose. The issue is that the pancreas has to produce insulin to put that into the bloodstream to get rid of the glucose of the bloodstream. And it's going to use the glucose as energy, and some of the glucose that it can't do anything about. If there's too much glucose, then it will just put it into the liver, and then you will have fatty liver and visceral fat also, which are really not good at all. And the issue is that you're gonna have a lot of insulin to your body, and insulin is not really great also for the body. It's damages as well cells, so you don't want to have like a lot of insulins. And then basically the food that you have, the glucose stays like for a couple of hours into your bloodstream, but the insulin stays for about 4 hours. And the issue is if you eat very frequently those glucose heavy foods, the pancreas is going to be in constant creation of insulin to get rid of that glucose, and then it will need more, because anything that stays in the body for a long time, the body gets kind of used to it, so then you become insulin resistant. And that's a big problem. That's when that's pre-diabetes basically, and that will cause like a lot of problems. So you have to, the two things that you have to change is, first of all, reduce the amount of glucose that you eat, and secondly, the frequency in which you eat them, right? So you should leave at least like 4 hours between meals. That's why fasting is so good, because it gets rid of the insulin that in your bloodstream as well. So in a nutshell, this is what you should think about. If you look at the mechanism as well, so again, the glucose spikes happen when you eat a lot of high glycemic food, such as that leads to increased insulin that we just discussed as well. Over time, contribute to insulin resistance, and that's a driver of chronic inflammation. Excess omega-6 fats is also really bad as well. Talking about nutrition, so anything like coming from seed oils and trans fats, that promote inflammation a lot. Processed food, extremely bad, obviously, as everyone knows, because they're completely deprived of fiber, which is extremely important as well for your digestion and for slowing down the pace at which glucose gets into the bloodstream. All the additives, the preservatives, and the imbalanced macronutrients are extremely bad for your body. The gut health is also another really important factor, and the integrity of the gut lining and the diversity of the microbiome as well are really deeply affected by what we eat, right? So there's a gut barrier, and when this is compromised, which you probably have heard about leaky gut, that's exactly what that is. then the inflammation molecules as well can enter the bloodstream as well, which is quite bad. I'm going to link a couple of references as well into this. So now, why chronic inflammation is dangerous? So over time, as I said, the chronic inflammation becomes a silent risk factor for major diseases, cardiovascular disease, and there's a specialized doctor that did a podcast as well on Diary of CEO that I'm going to link as well, which is fantastic. He explained that way better than me. And basically, inflammation is involved in the formation of plaques, right? So those are fatty deposits that build up inside the arteries. So those plaques can rupture and then can cause heart attack or strokes. So this is the creation of plaques is directly linked to this insulin resistance and to this all these glucose as well that we ingest. Then we have brain health and neurodegeneration. So chronic inflammation may also contribute to cognitive decline and disease such as Alzheimer's. And again, there's been a lot of studies around that. The inflammatory markers have been found in the brains of patients with dementia as well. And then you have metabolic disorders. So insulin resistance, obesity, and type 2 diabetes are really closely linked to inflammation. Excess visceral fats act like an organ that releases pro-inflammatory substances all the time as well. So visceral fat is the fat that is around your belly, right? So if you have fat in your belly, then this is probably something that you have to think about lowering the inflammation or in the food that you eat. So a few things now to reduce inflammation through the diet, which I've been doing now for the last 7 months, 8 months. So foods that promote inflammation, so food that you should avoid, are refined sugars, especially added sugar and fructose as well. Refined carbs such as white bread, white rice, and sugary cereal. Processed meats, bacon, sausages, dairy meats, trans fat, so in margarine, ultra-processed snacks, and seed oils in omega-6, so sunflower oil, corn, soy bean oils, and alcohol, obviously. So all of those, you should really think about either reducing them or go to the extreme that I did, which is removing them entirely from your diet, which really has made a massive difference. And then you have the foods that reduce inflammation. So those are the ones that you should be eating a lot. So leafy greens, such as your spinach, your kale, your vegetables, such as broccoli and cauliflower, berries are amazing, because they are fruits that don't contain too much fructose, which is great. So blueberries, raspberries, cranberries, any berries is fantastic. I have them on my overnight oats every day. Fatty fish, sardines, mackerel, salmon, they're really rich in omega-3, which are the right fat. Fermented food, I love my kefir, you know that. Sauerkraut as well, tempeh, they do support the gut microbiome massively, so very encouraged to do that. Spices, turmeric, ginger, cinnamon, garlic is a fantastic combination. A little tip for you, turmeric combined with pepper has a huge impact also on lowering inflammation, those two combined together, which I have in every single of my meals. Olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. So the best olive oil that you can buy is the best thing that you can do. Not cook with it, so cold, not cooked, is fantastic. And then the obvious nuts and seeds. So walnuts, flax seeds, chia seeds. Those are the things that you should really focus in order to reduce your inflammation. The key principle that I want to leave you with is you need to focus on whole foods all the time. Anything that has, processed as in a plastic box, already, it has a bit of processing and there's a little bit of inflammation in it, basically, right? You should also increase fiber intake to support the gut and the metabolic health, because the fiber helps slow down the digestion, so that it reduces the glucose spike that you will have from any food, right? And you should also choose a diverse plant-based foods, right? So don't eat the same, even if you like broccoli, don't eat broccoli every day. Just do change as well, rotate your vegetables, because every single vegetables contain, or every single food, the plant-based food contains different type of bacteria and nutrients in your body, and the body and the gut specifically needs that variety in order to to produce the right thing as well. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about understanding glucose spikes and insulin resistance, which we've covered a little bit as well before. But what the question I when I explain what I eat, people understand why I don't eat sugar and alcohol. That's pretty obvious. But pasta, potatoes, rice, like, why is that, right? So that's always a little bit of a difficult one to explain. But typically, when you consume starchy or sugary food, and obviously starchy food is potatoes in particular as well, and anything with white flour. Anytime that you eat that, there's a glucose that enters the bloodstream, right? And the pancreas, and again, release all the insulin to help absorb this glucose as well for energy. And the issue, as we spoke about earlier, but the issue is like the frequent spikes in blood glucose and insulin, right? Especially from refined carbs or sugar, does lead to this insulin resistance, which is something that I encourage you to dive a little bit deeper into understanding as well. And then the cells don't respond anymore to insulin, which is a huge driver to metabolic inflammation as well. So eat in the right order. You have to eat vegetables, protein, and then carbs. It's good to walk after meals, obviously, as we do a lot in the south of France, to help the digestion. Choose the whole grains or legumes, or over refined starches all the time, and avoid like drinking fruit juices or sugary drinks. So that's really interesting. Something I learned recently is that eat fruit whole, right? But if you make a fruit juice, basically you remove a lot of the fiber in the fruit that would have helped you actually slow down that glucose spike, because there is also sugar in the fruits, obviously. But why it is good sugar is because it's surrounded by fiber, which really helps you slow down that digestion and not have a massive glucose spike as well. But as soon as you press your oranges, for example, then you destroy this fiber that is around it, and then it's less effective. So then you're gonna have a higher glucose spike because you're missing the fiber that is around the sugar inside the fruit. Then let's talk quickly about the gut also. So the gut is not just a digestion organ. It does house 70% of your immune cells. So 70% of your immunity system is in your gut, right? And there are trillions of bacteria that influence your entire health. So a healthy gut, what does it do? It maintains a strong barrier against harmful substances, communicates with the immune system, and produces also the short chain fatty acids, which reduce inflammation basically. So, but an imbalanced gut microbiome, often caused by low fiber diets, again, think about your processed foods, or antibiotics, can trigger low grade inflammation as well. So how to support your gut? 3 things. Eat fermented food like kefir. Increase your fiber from vegetables, legumes, and seeds, and avoid any artificial sweetener or additives. So I'm going to finish now by talking a little bit about what else you can do apart from the food that will help have a low inflammation kind of lifestyle. Sleep. It's been proven that poor sleep increases inflammation. stress also. So chronic stress raises cortisol and systemic inflammation, which you don't want to do. Exercise is great, as a moderate physical activity does kind of reduce a little bit the inflammation. Sunlight, you've often heard that it's like vitamin D, and if you live in a country where you don't have a lot of sun, then take supplements definitely for sunlight. And then fasting, which is another topic I'd like to talk about another time, because it's gonna take a long time. Bit of fasting, like if you do 12-12 for example, or 16-8. So for 16 hours you don't eat, and you eat for 8 hours. So typically, you would stop eating at 8 p.m. the night, and you won't eat anything before 12 p.m. the kind of the next day, to leave 16 hours of. So you skip breakfast, but you have an early dinner the day before. That really helps. After 12 hours of fasting, the body really starts to kind of change and do all the right things that I will cover later on as well. A few supplements as well that you can take. So again, you have to ensure that you see your doctor before you take any supplement or anything at all. I always advise to speak to a professional before making any change. But omega-3, from what you get from like fish oil is fantastic. Vitamin D3 and K2, which I do take as well on a daily basis as well, which are great because they help you. D3 is obviously for the sun, and K2 is one that helps you as well to bond the right molecules together. Probiotics as well for the gut health. Magnesium and curcumin as well. But curcumin, you can take it in turmeric. So if you eat a lot of turmeric, then you have a lot of curcumin, you're fine. But enough magnesium, they can find in dark chocolate, 85% cacao minimum. You'll have the right, there's magnesium, there's a lot of really good stuff as well in bananas. And yeah, so basically, I hope that this has been useful. So it's been a bit long, but I want to explain the low fiber part of my lifestyle. I've already explained the high protein. Next time I will explain the high fiber, which obviously I gave a little bit of giveaway today as well on that. But so thank you very much for watching. I'm going to link the right videos as well in the comments for you to go deeper, like with real scientists and researchers talking a little bit more about this. But in the meantime, have a great rest of the day, and I really hope that you have learned something. If you have, then I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, or to forward to anyone who might be interested in that information. Thank you. Bye for now.